Anyway, that's another story. Today or tonight, I would like to have a chat about why am I having this conversation. And now what I mean by that is, why am I having this conversation in my head? Now, I'm pretty sure everybody has done the same thing, and that is that you won't even be aware of what you're thinking about, but just all of a sudden you catch yourself having this conversation, and it's really, why am I having this conversation? And the more that you get into personal development, the more you start to notice these conversations that you're having that are totally irrelevant, that you're having them because of your beliefs and different things that are going on in your life, but they're usually things that haven't happened. Now, the problem with conversations like that is that what you think, what you feel, you create. So you're having this conversation in your head with somebody that has never even occurred. It's just a conversation of something that you think that might happen or something. But by allowing those conversations to continue in your head, you're thinking about it, it creates a feeling in your body, because your mind doesn't know the difference between fantasy and reality. So you're having these thoughts, having this conversation, might be getting a little bit tense in your head, and that creates a feeling in your body, and that then creates a vibration, sends it out into the universe, and hey, guess what? That conversation comes to life. It becomes a real deal. So it's really about getting to the bottom of those conversations and stopping them. I'm just going to unzip this. It's annoying me. There we go. Yeah. All right. So it's becoming aware of these conversations so that you can actually put a stop to them. Now, it may seem like an impossible feat to actually control what's going on subconsciously in your brain, but it is possible, because there are things called neural pathways. And it's the same, learning anything new, learning an instrument, learning the computer, learning how to use Facebook, anything. Learning anything new, you create new neural pathways in your brain, and then all of a sudden one day just locks in. So you can do that with your thoughts as well. It's, they talk about positive thinking and all that kind of thing. And positive thinking is important, but it's not the be all and end all. But if you control your thoughts and you do start to think more positively and turn things around, you will start to automatically think positively a lot more, down the track, because of these new neural pathways that are created. So the whole thing with controlling conversations in your head is to actually become aware of them and to do something about that. So tonight I'd like to share with you a technique that I used when I started going through changing my thoughts, and that all happened after I had an emotional breakdown in 2009. And that was really just a build-up of carrying an emotional trauma for way too long. It was like 18 years or something, and it just got to a point, I was sick of being sick, I was sick of carrying this trauma, and it just all exploded one day and I had this breakdown. But that's actually a really exciting turning point, because you really need to get to a point in your life when you want to change something where you have a moment where you're just fed up and you've had enough. Because when you get to that point, that's when you'll actually do something about it. So I see that as a blessing in disguise. I'm really, really glad it happened, because it turned my life around. I went to a kinesiologist. I found this amazing kinesiologist, and she gave me a few techniques, and we did some work during our sessions together. But I also researched a few things and found what worked for me. And that's a really important thing, is to actually get in there and find out as much as you can and listen to different people, listen to what they've got to say, but take what works for you. So you don't have to take, what somebody says as gospel, but there might be something that they say that, works for you, and then someone else might say something and that works for you. So it's really finding what works for you so that you can start to change your thoughts and in turn change your feelings and start creating a different life for yourself and a more positive life. So what I did was that I had to, in the kinesiology sessions, was I had to put the trauma that I had into like a rock or something like that, and then I had to make it disappear. And it was up to me how I made it disappear. So I could have, made it explode or threw it away or hit it with a hammer, whatever. But anyway, I chose to throw it over a mountain. So I visualised throwing this rock over this mountain, and then it would come back and it'd hit me in the head. And then she'd say, the kinesiologist, not the rock, she would say, just keep doing it until it disappears. And this went on for about 5 or 10 minutes, me just mentally throwing this rock over this mountain and then coming back. And anyway, finally, it went away. And so then it was left with in my mind, a hole. So I had to fill it with a colour. Now, ironically, the colour that I chose was pink. Now, I'm wearing pink today, but this is actually something that before then you wouldn't have seen me doing. I always shunned pink. It was always too girly and, that kind of thing. But pink was the colour that I chose. And it had a completely different effect for me. It was sort of like it was a piece of the puzzle that I'd been blocking, but I actually really needed it. So filled the colour with the hole with pink, and then there were other things. Like at that point, I didn't like answering my phone. Every time my phone would ring, I'd just get this cold shiver down my spine. So it was, get a pink phone cover and just little things like that actually made things a lot calmer. And pink is a calming colour too. So maybe that's why I chose it. I don't know, but that was just a colour that worked for me. So, you would choose a colour that works for you. But it's whatever comes into your mind first, because your first thought is always the right one. Rather than choosing a colour, like I could have gone, pink, but I don't really like pink, I'll choose blue or something like that. I went with pink because that was the first colour, and I'm really pleased that I did. So we did all that kind of thing. But then I sort of noticed after I finished my sessions, I was having these conversations in my head that were, not too pleasant. You'd have a conversation with someone. You might have had a run-in with someone or something, and you're just having this conversation of where you think it might go, even though that conversation has never happened. So I'd catch myself having these conversations, and I'll be like, why am I having this conversation? And it could be a conversation with someone else. It could be a conversation with yourself. It could just be thinking about another scenario. So what I actually did was, in my mind, I saw this other person, or I saw myself, or if I didn't want to see myself, I saw a shape and, put a couple of eyes on it or something like that. And I would actually stop them from talking, and I'd say, no, please, I'm not having this conversation. I wouldn't even say please. I'd just say, no, I'm not having this conversation. And then they'd start to talk again. I'd say, no, I'm not having this conversation. Please go away. And I would keep this up until I saw them in my mind turn around, walk away. And then when they turned around, walked away, I would replace the thought with something positive, either something that, just reframing the situation and seeing it differently and thinking of something good happening rather than thinking about, this negative conversation I was having. But then it sort of got that way. It'd keep happening, but it all felt a little bit too serious. And this is something where we try to change things and we do get a bit serious about it. So it's okay to make it lighthearted and have a bit of fun with it. So what I'd actually do was that I'd see this person or myself, and we'd be having this conversation. I'd say, no, I'm not having this conversation. And they would start talking again. So I'd put my hand up and I'd go, talk to the hand. I'm like this in my head going, talk to the hand. I'm not having this conversation. And that made me feel a bit different about it again, because I was just having a bit of fun, and that actually made it lock in a lot quicker. It made things happen a lot faster, and it made it easier to come up with a more positive thought as well, to just have fun with it. And that really, really worked with helping to turn things around. Now, a really, really important thing with all of this is persisting with it, of sticking with it and hanging in there, because it can take several months to create new neural pathways in your brain. So it's not like, I've been trying this for 24 hours and it's not working, or even a week or a month or something. It's keeping at it. It's like anything. If you really, really want it, you need to keep taking the steps to achieve it, because we achieve things once we're in alignment with them, and it does take some time to actually get into alignment with things sometimes it's instant. But when you're creating new neural pathways and actually changing the way that you think and you feel, it does take some time. It can take a couple of months. So if you do want to try these things, hang in there and, give it a really good go, because there will be just one day where all of a sudden you'll just go, oh, wow, I'm having a positive conversation in my mind. And it is possible. If I think way back to even when I was younger of how shy I was and, too scared to get up and talk into a microphone or get up and talk in front of anybody, let alone do anything like this, to how I am now, in that, I love to get up on stage. I love to sing. I love to do presentations. I really enjoy doing videos. So, and that's really just been through creating new neural pathways and creating a new normal, because that's what you're doing. If you stay doing the same thing over and over and over again, you're just going to keep getting the same things over and over again. So you do have to start doing things differently. And, a great place to start is working on your mind first, so that you can start to change the way you're thinking, which will change the way that you're feeling. And together that will change what's happening in your world. Now, I used to, years and years and years ago, have a career that, basically I'll tell you what it is. I used to host karaoke shows. Now, anybody that's hosted a karaoke show will know that dealing with people who are getting up on stage, so their ego's involved, and they've had a few drinks, they can get quite nasty. Not everybody. I've met some fantastic people through karaoke, but there is an element to some people where they can get quite nasty, where they think that they're a really good singer and everyone wants to hear them sing all night. And you've got 30 singers and you're trying to fit everybody in, and you can fit like 16 songs in an hour, and it just all compounds and all this kind of thing. So that actually started to affect me, because I did this for quite a few years, to the point of where I didn't want to go and see anybody. I didn't want to spend time with anybody, because it was just, I just saw a nasty side to people all the time. And that started to affect me. So, and even when I moved out of that, I was still really, really wary of people. But since then, I've, gone into different careers, and I've met some fantastic people. And, when you take the ego out, you take the alcohol out and everything, there's some great people out there. So now, whereas before there'd be people who, they would ring up the next day, ring up the people I was working for, and they get quite nasty, not just with me, but all of the operators that were working for us, they just have all these nasty things to say. And it's like, that's not a very, very nice thing to be going through, is to have people just being nasty all the time. But now that I've actually gone out, changed my career, met some fantastic people, saw a really nice side to people, that's changed my whole perception and the neural pathways and everything like that now, where I don't even see that side of people anymore. I don't attract that side of people. And that's the whole thing, that if you've got things going on in your life that aren't very pleasant, or certain people there might be being nasty to you or something like that, if you change the way that you think and even the way that you view them, if you start to see good things in them, which can be quite difficult, someone's being a little bit difficult, but actually see nice things about them, or just think positive thoughts and keep working on it, because it does take some time. It's not going to, I'll think a positive thought and they'll just change. You can't change the other person, but you can change what goes on within you. So if you start to see things differently, if you need to move away from somebody, then do that. But start focusing on what you want to have in your life, rather than focusing on the things that you don't want. Change your environment, change whatever you can. But if you get in and you change what's on the inside first, in particular what's going on in your mind, the conversations that you're having in your mind, then your whole world will change. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. I'll just quickly have a quick look here on my profile here, because there we go. Because the comments come up different. It's always Oh, when people are watching, it's hard to type, isn't it? There we go. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Oh, I'll have to have a look later. My typing skills aren't very good at the moment. Oh, there we go. Now I know what the problem is. No, that didn't work either. So, all right, typing under pressure. I obviously wasn't a typist in my previous life. But let me know your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you and start a conversation on all these things. But also let me know what's holding you back from taking that next step to, follow your dreams and follow your heart. And, it's really about tuning in to what's going on inside of you and what it is that you really, really want to do with your life. Chances are it's something that majority of people are saying, oh, that's unrealistic and all that. You don't want to listen to those people. You want to listen to what's going on inside your heart. And if there is a driving force in your heart, then you can create it, because if you can think it, you can create it. So if you need some help with that, please contact me and we'll have a chat and see if we can work together to help get you through those. 9 times out of 10, it's a fear. And it's just working through that fear and breaking through and taking action. So if that scares you, if that makes you feel nervous, that's a really, really good thing, because that means that is the thing that you need to do, because the life that you want is on the other side of your fears. So remember, follow your heart, follow your dreams, and don't let anybody stop you. And I'll catch you next time.